We're almost about to make a complete stop, but not before. We are going to have an amazing panel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Woo!
Yes. We are unfortunately missing Jason Orr because Delta canceled his flight, so
Oh,
I'm
man.
very bummed.
Salute to Jason, though.
Oh my
Yes,
God.
absolutely.
So someone else's flight got canceled. I don't want to call you up, but Laura T-Bird got. But you're here. Yes.
He's stuck here.
So instead of having 5 people, we're going to have 4. Casey's going to come back with the quickness, but I wanted to get things started, and I want to talk to all of you about our Minty, obviously, and so you are ready for questions. And so you should be used to this by now. I hope so. It's minty.com, and the number this time is 5446-2446. This is easier to remember this time. 5446-2446, minty.com, out there in live streaming land. I hope you guys are doing really good out there in live streaming land. I hope that you've had a blast today. And we're just going to keep this conversation. But first of all, I actually want to do this. Come on down, Casey. I kind of want to do this in real time, even though I'm going to talk about this with Michael later. How was it for you yesterday doing What Did Prince Do This Week live, side by side?
So I'm used to just being at home with my shirt, and then it's early in the morning when I do it. So, but no, it was great because I was just feeding off of the energy. So no, it was good.
Okay, awesome.
I'm trying to back you up anyway.
That's what you do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off this blinding light. So make sure you have your code because I'm about to turn it off because they don't need all this on their faces. And then, Michael Dean, you can take it away. You can introduce yourselves and you can let everybody introduce themselves unless you want to introduce them.
We will. But first, let me say, Celie, having him in the front like this is like, and somebody brought up Star Wars earlier, it would be like if Obi-Wan Kenobi was sitting there watching you, getting ready to do your stuff. Like, very intimidating, sir. I'm just messing with you. All right. Well, my name is Michael Dean. We do the podcast Juice, Prince Podcast. Thank you. And we are here today with a lovely panel of people, which I'm going to go down and introduce and let them introduce themselves. And one of the first questions that I'm just going to throw out there right now, and I want all the people online too. Where's D'Angelo? So here's the question real quick, and this is a litmus test. New power generation or bold generation? Oh, wow. Depending on your answers, you're going to get thrown the hell about it. No, I'll explain. But real quick, can you just throw on bold generation for a quick second? We talking about Prince, and so I'm like, let the music speak for itself. And this is a cut. And we'll get into it, but this kind of set the mood. I like to play music real quick. All right, woo! All right, now we're ready to start. So first off, we have Tonya Pendleton. And tell us about yourself, Tonya.
My name is Tonya Pendleton. I am a veteran journalist, web content producer, content creator, multimedia journalist, and broadcaster. And I have done everything from work in the music business and now continuing my career as a journalist and now a Prince scholar, expert, something.
Nice.
So thank you all for being here.
All right. This gentleman here, I've known of him for a while. I've watched him grow and do his thing. He is on YouTube of many platforms. But Mr. Casey Rain of Violent Reality, sir, how are you?
Hi, great to be here. Yeah, my name is Casey. I'm a songwriter, musician, performer from Birmingham in the UK. I was moderating Prince.org before it became as toxic as it is now. Sorry about that. For many years. 7 or 8 years ago, I started making content on YouTube. We have a series called Uncovering Prince where we've been able to interview lots of amazing people that worked with him. That's myself and my partner Kim, who's in the crowd here. Say hi, Kim.
What's up, Kim?
And we also have a series called The Facts You Didn't Know, where we go through every Prince album chronologically to try and deep dive into the stories behind the songs. It's been a multi-year project. We just got up to musicology, so we're kind of on the last stretch, but it's been a lot of fun doing all the research and digging into that. Up until very recently, I also worked at Twitter managing content creators. If you didn't hear, some rich white dude bought the company and fired everyone. So if anyone in this crowd does own a Tesla, I will accept your apology if you buy me a drink. We can do that. I mean, who wants to work for a fascist anyway, right? Like, so that's me. I'm very happy to be here. It's my first time in New York. We've been having a great time, so thank you all for coming out.
Awesome. We're in the first time club because it's my first time too. So yeah. Now this brother here, I consider him my brother. We grew up in the same city, didn't know each other, liked the same stuff, Prince obviously, but it wasn't until Prince that brought us together to be like, yo, you a cool motherfucker. He trusts me enough to come to his place and vice versa. We've talked about this many a times this week, just the connection that we all have through Prince, all these brilliant minds and stuff, people that I'm just like, you know, but we can all conversate and feel some love with Prince. So, Troy, without further ado, and they all know who you are anyway, but
I make things.
do you think?
I make some stuff. I'm a visual contemporary artist from Seattle. I communicate usually through visuals, so this is, awkward for me. You probably know me best from my tribute series, photographic series called Le Petit Prince. It's
Yes.
Thank you. It's I guess you already know what it is, but it's a surreal reimagining of Prince's life and career in miniature photographic tableaus that I create by hand. And I'm trying to tell Prince's story and continue on his legacy in this really unique, weird way. But it's the only way that I know to do it. So I'm grateful to be here. I'm so grateful for D'Angela for inviting me. I wanted to say one thing. I want to pay a little tribute to. I just wanted to acknowledge Wally Safford because this was his first tour, and we lost a great man.
All right, damn, okay. So let's go to the question that I asked to start it off. Tonya, do you have a choice between New Power Generation and Bold Generation? And if you do, why? Why not?
I skipped a song on the album. I just think it's a throwaway track. Sorry, y'all. It's just not his best in my view.
All right. Mr. Rain?
I'm going to go with New Power. It has, I don't know, the way he infused the kind of more New Jack elements into what was a track that existed before New Jack kind of turns me on. And I also feel like Graffiti Bridge is like, it gets too much of a kicking, right? Like, let's show some love for Graffiti Bridge, right?
All right.
I mean, can't we have both?
No, you got to make a decision, man.
Well, so, I mean, the song in both contexts kind of speaks to one of the reasons I was drawn to Prince to begin with was the idea of opening the mind and looking for a new way to be and think. And so, I don't know, I guess the original must be the right one. So I'm going to go with
the one that you like?
I mean, I like them both. Okay. But Bold Generation has more of a loose feel and more of a immediacy that maybe I gravitate towards more, maybe. Okay. A little less produced.
Okay.
You know what's interesting is that when they were compiling 1999 Deluxe, I think Michael Howe, who was the A&R working on this stuff, he said they didn't have the original multi-tracks for Bold Generation because he had used them and overdubbed them to make New Power Generation. So they only had the cassette mix of that original song, which as a songwriter, you kind of feel like he felt like it was already pretty good and almost there, and he just maybe put it back on the shelf for then, but then didn't feel like, with other songs he kind of started from scratch and he's like, I'm going to do this idea again. With that one it was more like, I just need to like touch it up a little bit and add a few things, and then it's done. So it's kind of speaks to a little bit of insight of to how he felt about that song, which I think is interesting.
With that said, and I bring that song up first because for me, every Prince album, there's a go-to song. Like when I first hear it, it's a no-brainer. Like, yeah, I'm rocking that. So for me, that was that. But I'm curious for you guys, was there a song of the unreleased material that's on this special edition? Is there a song that when you first heard it, you was like, oh.
Purple Music. I was angry, actually. Like, I would like to bring Prince back and have him face us as to why he never put that record out as a B-side, as a 12-inch. There were so many options in the 80s to be able to put out records just on a one-off type of deal. And I just feel like that song, it kind of captures his feeling about music, that, you know, it's basic because it's like music makes me how, okay, that's basic, you know, we get it. But it is just, it's got this propulsive beat that's kind of basic. And because I think recently I've rediscovered a love of dance music and house, and I play a lot of house music when I'm working. So it's kind of like there's so much he could have done with it. He could have remixed it. He could have, you know, threw a rapper on it if he wanted to. He could have just done so much with it because it's just this amazingly propulsive, catchy, kind of insidious beat. And then it's like, you know, this is don't need, you know, I don't need cocaine because I get high off of my own supply. Okay. You know, and that is Prince in a nutshell. And so it's just everything about that song just makes me feel good. And I'm just angry that he did not. I had to wait how many years to hear it.
All right. Purple Music, Mr. Rain. How about you?
I don't know if it's like a one go-to. I mean, there's just so much fantastic material on this set that it's hard to pick just one. But from having heard a short, unfinished bootleg many years before this set came out, I was really glad to get the full version of If It'll Make You Happy. And there's this kind of theory that gets kicked around with some, you know, the last panel we're talking about Prince being able to do all these different genres. When there were genres that he didn't really do much of, and maybe those songs that he did do were not that great, people say, oh, he couldn't do that genre, right? Like some people say, oh, he couldn't do hip. Well, he could, man. Like he could do anything. It depends on the song. So with Prince and sort of reggae-ish vibes, people point to Blue Light, which is, you know, maybe not the greatest song ever, something a bit pastiche about it. But If It'll Make You Happy shows that he could have gone down that early 80s like new wave reggae thing that was happening. It's got like Stuart Copeland Police vibes to it, right? Like that's where it's at. And so he could have gone down that path, but it just didn't sit with the rest of 1999. But that's why it's perfect for a box set at Deluxe. That's what you want. You want those unexplored paths.
Okay. All right. Troy.
Well said, Casey. That was good. Rearrange.
Yes.
For the same reason, basically, because it's about rearrange your mind, you know. And it's so catchy. It's like the song that keeps playing in my head all day long. So.
I also think that could have been on a Time album, and I don't I'm like, Prince, come here, can we talk? Why was this not put out? And also the guitar solos on that record are just so sick. And I mean, in a career full of sick guitar solos, those really stand out. So I have a friend who's a musician. I'm like, I need you to listen to the song. Explain to me what he was doing on this song. And he's like, well, you know, it's a clean guitar. It's a dirty guitar. And I'm like, that's the type of cryptic shit that musicians say to you when they cannot explain what actually happened. So I just, you know, maybe somebody who's a musician can break it down. Like, how did he build the solos and then just play them out? And it was so interesting with Dan doing the Lindrum panel because he dug so into the roots of how the songs were made, and so many songs of Prince's, you're just like, how did he do that? And when you dig deep into it, not just the lyrics and the emotion, but the actual technical proficiency and the mindset and the thing, like
the physical making.
So do you like it because of the solo, or do you like it because of the, like, what is what?
I like it because of the solos, but I
Yeah.
also like the message.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
You know what's interesting about Rearrange is that obviously there's a couple of ideas in there that sort of went on to become Lady Cab Driver, right? And with most artists, with most artists, that would happen, and then that would be it, right? But actually, Prince pulled Rearrange back out in '88 and did a new mix of it. So he obviously felt there was something else there that didn't get put into Lady Cab Driver that was still worth working on, and that's really interesting to me.
Just to shift gears, we're going to get back into some of the songs we like, but I wanted to ask you guys, what are your thoughts on Extra Lovable and it not being included on there? Like, I can understand probably why it's not on there, but at the same point, that to me feels like that song is such a part of that era, and a lot of fans have already heard it anyway. But I want to know what you guys think.
I think we should have I wish that Prince could have lived long enough that we could have had a panel like this and we could have said, Prince, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? And then I wonder what his answers would have been. Would he have been honest? Would he have been cryptic? You know, knowing Prince as we know him, he didn't like to really explain a lot of how he did what he did. I don't remember reading a whole bunch of things where he would do some kind of breakdown of, this is why I did this song. You might see it like on the liner notes of the hits. He explained a few things. And in the interview with Miles Marshall Lewis, who was here yesterday, he talks about people saying that Bob Seger influenced Purple Rain and all this kind of stuff. So he basically denied that those were the influences. But in terms of why he chose to do different things, I mean, does he even, if he was here to talk to us, would he even know?
Well, and to be specific, I'm saying, though, do you think they should have put that song on the special edition? Should that have been released? It has not been released. Right?
Not particularly. I don't feel like I missed it.
Okay, that's fair.
So, just for a point of clarity, there's two songs that everybody wanted on this set, which is Extra Lovable and Lust You Always, and they were not included because both contain a lyric where he says he's going to rape somebody, right? Which in an artistic context, you can see like it's indefensible in some ways, right? And you understand why the estate, with a fiduciary duty to not tarnish his image, cannot put that out. But from a songwriter creator perspective, right, he's pushing an envelope far and then figuring out where that limit is. And obviously, since he did not include those songs on the original album, he figured out where that limit was, and those songs were above it, right? So, but that's the prerogative of a creator. But in the years since, right, the music business for sure has, and as fans, we all participate in this. This idea of authenticity, right? So it's like when a rapper goes to jail because he shot somebody, and people act surprised. It's like, well, you were the ones that asked for authenticity in the music that you listen to, right? Like that's how it is. But I get there's no way they could have released those songs, right? It would have. The risk was there, and they have a duty to protect the financial interests and the PR of the artist, right? But that's the difference between the different stakeholders that you have in a deluxe release, right? If Prince was doing a deluxe release and he was alive, he would do it differently to how a bank running an estate would do it, who would do it differently to how fans running an estate would do it. And that's just the reality of the business situation. So I can sit here and say, yeah, they should have put those songs on, right? But I'm not the one that has anything to lose by saying that. They did, so they didn't.
Man, I don't know. Seriously, I mean, we have it. We have it. We all have it. So I don't think it needed to be included.
I hope there's a place where it could come out some way. Even if they just, I mean, what if they censored the words out? Or is that
I know, but
something
that's
you
still that's
shouldn't
messing with the art. And there's that's questionable too, right?
do? True enough.
And we couldn't ask Prince about this because he wouldn't have put this out.
I just wish when we talk about stakeholders that we had a way that all of the stakeholders that were involved in Prince's career could have some say into some of these sets. I always felt from day one that there should be a committee made up of journalists, musicians, collaborators, and media and fans who could come together and fight it out, because we'd all be arguing, but there should be, Prince is the kind of artist that deserves that consideration and that deserves putting something together like that may be unprecedented. I don't know if there's any other artists that do anything like that, that those people who supported him the most throughout his career, that they can have a say in the kind of projects and the creativity that is involved in putting these box sets together. obviously, yes, there's a fiduciary duty to make sure that they're sellable to a public, particularly a lot of the public that is new to his work. But also to do something like that then gives him more of a profile, the way that we're doing things like Zahir Ali doing the Prince syllabus and the Prince Center for the Study of Prince. It puts him on another level of seriousness, and really I think is something that if it could happen, you know, people don't know that this group of people exists in the wider world. They don't know necessarily that there's a D'Angelo Duff that is out here doing these amazing symposiums, and they should. Yes.
They should.
Yes,
And you're making it happen.
There's study around Prince. It's not just Prince was this artist. There are people who study him because of all of the things that he touched upon, from fashion to gender to pop culture to music to lifestyle to being such an amazing and essential part of Black culture and Black music for as long as he was, 37 years. And there needs to be something like that where every stakeholder can be involved and participate in what happens next.
So with that said, how do we make that happen? Like,
She just planted the seed. She just manifested it. It's, you know.
Yeah.
like we all have. Oh, go ahead. How do we make a unified voice? And this is a thing that I think all Prince fans, we've been wrestling with these releases, and we all want what we want, but how do we get in touch with the people? How do we let them know, like, this is what we want to do? Robin, I'm actually here. I'm going to give you the mics. I know the people at home was like, Mike, what are you doing? Can't hear.
But this was the idea that I had. If I could get in there, I would have a panel of what Tonya just said, because like, I don't think that they realize that we have invested so much of our lives, our time, our money, our like thoughts, and like they don't know about this kind of stuff where we all just get together and just nerd the fuck out on Prince. like we are real investors, and I like if I could get to that, I would have everyone in this room like, tell me what you think. What do you want to see? What do you want to do? Because like, yeah, I mean, because more than anything, I think we also know how we could appeal to a new generation of fans, as well as give us what we want. Yes, I agree with that idea. If I could somehow make that happen, if anybody in this room can make that happen, I think that that is the best way to go to support his legacy in like a real way. Thank you.
Well, damn. Thank you, Robin. But my man, I'm gonna come up to you in a sec. I didn't mean to turn this into some Q&A at this point either.
We went off the rails.
Sorry. But, and this is the last panel, right? So we can do what we want to do. With
Freewheeling.
D'Angelo's blessings, of course.
D'Angelo's like, I don't know if we can do anything.
All right, Michael, slow down.
I gotta come back to work Monday.
And let me say, too, I know Troy can speak to this, and I know he's watching. Dwayne, like, I know you worked on this thing, and
We love
it.
it.
It was like, hey, curious to see what you
Bottom
guys thought.
line is we love it.
But everyone should be open to constructive criticism. At the end of the day here, I want to see Prince's work, or I want to hear Prince's work. We're going to move our feelings out the way. We're not going to be disrespectful, but we got to speak about what it is that we want to see in these releases. With that, I'm going to go back to you guys. It was Christy and Michael yesterday had brought up about the omission of the Little Red Corvette videos and just the music videos in general. I never even thought about that. Like, wow, that would have been awesome to have that on there. And then, of course, the Vanity 6 and the Time albums. Do you think they should have had those albums included in the Super Deluxe, even just making Vanity 6 available to stream and things of that nature?
I definitely think Vanity 6 should be available. That was an amazing record at the time. I don't know that I necessarily feel like the 3 records should be together, because I think 1999 is its own entity. But I could see them doing the Time and the Vanity Six record together. I think that would be probably really interesting, because then you can talk about Prince working on these protege groups and how he created and conceived and put those acts together before I'm always fascinated that Prince conceived of a band that didn't exist except in his mind, and wrote full albums on that band. And then some people came along and probably messed up the vision, because now they need to be doing their own creative and musical thing. And now it's like, this band that I had in my mind, wow, they're amazing. But now it turns into this, Frankenstein monster, because now there's actual people in it, and they're not always going to do what I want them to do or say or sing, or, what I want them to sing or say. So I always find that part of it so interesting. So I think that could be a separate set where maybe there's a Prince Proteges box set. That would be fascinating.
Madhouse. The family.
Or one thing I want to say, we always forget, and I don't know why this has gotten sort of forgotten, it seems, in these conversations, but Prince had a whole record label. There could be a Paisley Park Records box set.
Yeah, 100%. There should be a Paisley Park Records box set with the videos on it, with a book written about the history of the label. Like, all this stuff should exist. Clearly, there's some weird, contractual shit going on that's stopping them from doing that right now, but it has to happen. That is its own self-contained story of tracking proteges, even before he officially had proteges, right? So if you go back to late 70s, he's working with Sue Ann Carwell, and that stuff never comes out, right? All the way through to literally the end of his life, and Third Eye Girl and the stuff that they did, that he play on live streams, that Donna did and Hannah did, that we never heard again apart from that 4 a.m. live stream. Well, it was 4 a.m. in England, at least, when I was watching. But you know what? That's its own story with rich tapestry and chapters that has to be told. I don't think it has to be connected to the mainline Prince releases.
Right.
You got anything to add on that one, Troy?
That all sounded really good.
Well, here, let me give you this one. And we talked about this earlier. So what is the effect of 1999, that album? Because I know for a lot of people that was their
entry point.
I know for you it was
yeah.
Can you speak to
so
that?
I was an MJ guy though, right? And it was my brother driving me around, listening to the radio, and Prince came on, Little Red Corvette. He's like, "You know what the Trojan is?" No. But so that was the first time I actually heard a Prince song, right?
Yes.
And yeah, so in MTV, in the videos, and as far as them being included, I don't have a lot of box sets. That would be amazing to have a collection of the music videos. I don't know if that's a thing, but that's a cool idea.
Absolutely. And since we just doing it, let's just get into the influences of this album on y'all. Tonya, I know. And this is the thing, 1999, I was thinking 1999 was Prince's, it would be like Superfly. It's because my man was talking about Purple Rain. Purple Rain, Prince made Star Wars. It was like he's a director, but they're two different movies and two different genres. They can't be necessarily compared, but they're both great in what they are. They're two separate things. I don't know why I had to say that, but go ahead.
So 1999 was not my entryway to Prince. And D'Angelo, if you can cue those photos, I sent to D'Angelo so that you could understand what my world was like when Prince came out. This is actually, once they come up, they're probably circa 1985. This is my dorm room in college in 1985.
Wow.
Yeah. So I would say that for me, being a young black woman, we were teed up because we had controversy, we had Dirty Mind, we had, starting out with I Want to Be Your Lover. When you look at 1982, so 1982, I graduated from college. I was 16 years old because I skipped the 8th grade. People in New York, I grew up in New York City, know that you could do that back then. And when I went to high school right down the street, so this is a return for me to my old stomping grounds in high school. And, there was something, when I looked at the charts before this panel of 1982 in soul music, I realized that all of the male artists of that era were much older. Yep. It was Lionel Richie. It was Marvin Gaye. It was and also those guys were very like, I feel like 80s R&B was very like corporate polished, very, you know.
Grown ass men were the singers.
Yeah, exactly. But it was like very, you know, these love songs that were kind of like whatever. And then here comes Prince. Now he's been out, but if you put the Little Red Corvette video on right now, I will stare at the screen just as mesmerized as I was back then, because it was like, okay, okay, let's talk a little bit about Dirty Mind real quick.
Let's go.
I want someone, because people come up with these amazing creative Prince projects, right? I wish someone would do a social media timeline starting from his very first album and going through all the way through, because I feel like that would be fascinating. But imagine Dirty Mind coming out in this era. The man sang a song about his sister, and not in a sisterly way. He sang a song about head, and not the one on your shoulders. And when I listen to that song now, and I'm just like, I'm singing along to it, and I'm like, oh my God. So 1999 comes out, and along with Vanity 6, and along with The Time, and this comes out in August. 1999 comes out as an album in October. I'm a year in my freshman year. I'm a month into my freshman year in college. So Vanity 6, Nasty Girl. Why, yes, I am a nasty girl because I'm 17 and that's what you're supposed to be. The Time, Wild and Loose. Last night I was like, wild and loose, because baby, again, I'm 17. I'm coming out of, listen, wild and loose. I am wild and loose, okay? Okay? And then we get into what? Dance, music, sex, romance. And I want all that. I want the dance, I want the music, I want the sex, and I want the romance. So here we go on this album, on this project. And I am like, I realized though that these albums were the soundtrack. They're my coming of age soundtrack. So if they make a movie about my life, this has to be a part of the soundtrack. If I listen to, and you know, I don't listen to 1999 all the time. I hadn't listened to it in a few years as a complete project. And I sat down and listened to it in preparation for this, and I was just like, you know, I'm in that dorm room. I'm 17. I'm black. I'm in a world where whiteness is still the default. And this guy comes along, and you're like, what he's young, he's light, he's young, he's pretty, he's a man, but he's a man, but he's a different kind of man. He's not Lionel, he's not, he ain't Marvin, he ain't Lionel, he ain't Teddy Pendergrass. What is it? And Minneapolis, looking at Minneapolis from being this woman this young girl who grew up in New York City, who didn't feel pretty, who, you know, I'm 5'10" in the 7th grade, imagine that, y'all. You know, I'm not light-skinned enough to be the 80s ethos, but I'm not dark-skinned enough for me to be able to have commiseration with my other dark-skinned sisters and saying that, you know, they don't like me because I'm dark-skinned. So I'm kind of stuck in this middle. And then, like, I'm kind of, you know, I'm smart, I'm opinionated, I'm all these things. But Prince, for me, and particularly on this album, coming into the time of my life when it did, and along with these other projects, this is like, I felt like somebody got me and understood me. I felt like there was this Minneapolis place where people could be free. You could be free, because this is what he's telling us, that there's freedom. The song "Free," last night I don't think I ever heard a woman sing that song before, and it just gave me a whole new dimension into what that was about. But I'd be sitting in my dorm room listening to "Free," and I've heard it I've heard people have their issues with it, and I get it, because it is sonically different, I think, from the rest of the album. But it's like, be glad that you are free to change your mind, free to go most anywhere, anytime. And when you're 17, this is what you're thinking. My life is ahead of me. Every possibility is out there. And somebody gets that, and they put that on record. and I can hear it and I can play it over and over and over and over and over, you know, and, you know, just everything about that part, the videos, you know, Jill's here. Got to give shout out to Jill.
Salute to Jill.
Again, because I gotta say this. So 1999 video. So I'm looking at this light-skinned person with platinum blonde hair, and I'm thinking, you know, Prince didn't necessarily at that point have a lot of black women visuals in his you know, visuals. But I'm looking at her and I'm like, that's a black girl. I feel like she's black. Or if she's not black, she's different than the two other white girls in the because I know black women who are light-skinned that dye their hair platinum blonde. Like that's familiar to me. So I'm like, okay, there's a sister in there somewhere. Well, okay, we're good. You know, but I just, you know, it's just no way to ever disconnect from that album and that time period in my life. You know, again, Nasty Girl, come on now. She said, I need 7 inches or more. What? We on the dance floor? I was like, yeah, we need 7 inches or more, y'all. I mean, imagine. This is us at the college party, right? And the poor guys probably on this. I went to a women's college. I started out at Simmons College, right? We used to have Sadie Hawkins days, and you would invite the guys, and all the guys would come to the school because they're like, women's college, it's women, yay. We'd be on the dance floor like, think I'm a nasty girl. And them poor guys were probably on the side like, So, yes. Thank you for that, Prince, okay?
So there's actually a second photo. Do you want me to show it?
You can, yeah.
Okay, but before I do, can I say something? Sure. So I see that, Jesse. I see that pink vinyl on the wall. But as a collector, I go, what? You got that record on the wall? It's like
young.
Yes. Don't treat Jesse's pink vinyl like that. Okay. There we go.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
By the way, I did not go to Harvard, and that is not a real machine gun, okay? Just so we know.
Oh, you was packing? Yeah. Wow.
So that picture should illustrate why 1999 will always be a significant project for me, because that was me.
Well,
even though this was a couple of years later, it still resonated. It still was my life in college, and really my life starting out. That's really what these projects were about for me.
Man. See, there's something about black women who talk about Prince. Because that's how I got in through it. Was my cousin, and she was into it early. But you guys just have a whole different take on it. I mean, we're speaking to you, you know. If I can ask a question to Jill, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'll walk up there, but I wanted to ask this, and now that you're here, my question is, did you guys know of the influence that you had at the time when this album was out, when you were on tour? Did you know that people were coming to the shows wanting to dress up like y'all and all that good stuff?
Yeah, I think to a degree. I think, I mean, you would start to see the girls show up with the corsets on and all of that. But I think that good leadership tends to make you feel like, I mean, at that point, Prince was like a captain on a ship. And I was kind of like, yeah, this is going to be huge, because I'd been on a tour with the Rick James thing, seeing it dwindling down, and that we were new and we were fresh. I mean, just look at that jacket he had on. I mean, in the picture for the album, it was futuristic, and we were like, you know, yeah, we walked around like we owned everything in Minnesota, so in Minneapolis. So yeah, it was, I think so. We were on the precipice of something. Yeah, saw the kids starting to come and show up, and, you know, hello, hey Jerome, how are you? Love you. I love you too. I love you more. Look at this white scruff. I love it. Aw, and you're beautiful too. but you should have been here. So I'm still salty about that.
I'm gonna join y'all in a second. Hold on, Jerome.
Hold on real quick, internet land. We got Jerome in the building. Sir, how you doing?
Hey man, what's up, bro?
It's all about you. I'm good, man. Listen, is there anything that you could tell us about 1999, the album? Like, what does it mean to you? Or any words?
I didn't hear the question.
Oh, my bad. I'm talking about. Is there anything? What do you think about the 1999 album? Everyone's here live. We're curious what your thoughts are on it.
What an amazing journey. You know, we got to be around a creative. It didn't just stop at 1999 for, you know, the journey that we was on. Every day, every creative moment that he shared with us, you know, Jill sang on most of that shit.
Right.
You know, nobody in the organization can say that. Nobody.
Okay. One last question for you. Oh, go ahead.
That must have been something in her spirit that inspired him to keep her moving like that.
Wow. Man, thank you. And lastly, we also talked about the What Time Is It album. And I know you got some words for us on that one, because y'all was killing it on the tour.
Hey, you know what? I've said it before. I had the best seat in the house as a fan. And it was remarkable. You know, there wasn't no formula to it. There was an energy, there was an instinct, and it was put on the table. Everybody took a bite and became part of that.
All right. Thank you, man. We'll talk to you again soon. Be easy. Yes, sir. All right. Wow. Give it up to Jerome and Jill. That was awesome. Casey, I wanted to ask you real quick. You were in the UK.
Yes.
What's your perspective
Yes, sir.
on 1999?
Well,
You're a young man.
Yes. Not only was I in the UK, I'm representing for the millennials in the house.
Yes, sir.
So I come from Am I still on? I come from a music business family, so I grew up with a lot of funk, right? And my older cousins were signed to Island Records like in the late 80s and had their own studio and label and were spinning Prince and The Time and Cameo and Zap and P-Funk all the time. So I grew up with this stuff since I was a toddler. But I was a preteen when Napster came out, and all of a sudden it wasn't just like, oh, you can buy one album a month or two albums a month with your $10 allowance or whatever. All of a sudden, there was everything, exposed to everything. And what I'll say about 1999, I knew the hits, of course, but it's a rare moment when you hear a record and you instantly know that this record, there's before this record and there is after this record. And this is something that changed everything. Because even the first time I listened to the album front and back, I was like, okay, Detroit House, it came from here, right? Okay, the whole Minneapolis sound, it came from here. Without that, there's no Jam and Lewis run, there's no Teddy Riley run, there's no Neptune's run, there's no Outkast run, there's no Timbaland, like none of this. It all goes back to 1999 in multiple directions. And that's why I thought it was so great in the box set that you even have liner notes from someone like Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses saying, holy shit, this album influenced me as well. And it's like, okay, so this is going off into like the whole like late 80s rock movement, LA rock movement as well. It's going everywhere. So there's very few records in history that do that, and that you know that as soon as you hear them. So.
Lord. You're at home laughing. What are we talking about? You can hear Jerome screaming on the phone. But with that said, there's also a video performance in the box set. Was it the Houston concert?
Yes.
Any thoughts? I'm going to be upfront. I have not seen that yet, actually. Okay. For those who have seen it,
it's not the highest fidelity video performance, right? It's kind of grainy and blurry as you would expect from something that old. But I think David Z did the new mix of the audio of it, and
Okay.
it sounds like pristine, right?
Nice.
Shout out to David Z. Holy shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what you want to hear, right?
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's killer. I mean, it's just cool to be able to relive that, you know.
Okay.
Like you said, it's not the most high fidelity, but what do you expect from 1982, 83? Really, I think it's as good as we can expect.
And we've sort of touched on it. It's been touched on. Overall thoughts on the box set itself. Does it live up to your expectations? And I'm going to throw the Sign of the Times one in there too, just because we can kind of talk about what we want. But of those two that we've had so far, and of the ones that's going to be coming out pretty soon, what are your thoughts on the box?
I am happy to see any serious observation of Prince as an artist, because I think because those of us who experienced him in real time were obviously getting older. Last night I was thinking to myself, somebody should come up with a Prince themed nursing home so that we could be
Start it now.
You know?
last night.
I think we got a special guest here as well.
Hey.
Jerome Benson.
Hold on, wait a minute. Go ahead.
Come on now.
Go ahead.
I want to thank everybody sitting there. The ones that are wearing dresses, pants, no drawers, and pimp shoes. I want to thank all y'all for your support over the years. I become speechless when I start thinking about it. But this is one of the awards that
Take your time. Turn it back around. There we go. There you go.
Oh, wow. Soul Train Award.
I thank y'all. I thank Soul Train, Jesse Collins, my personal assistant, Tonya Giddens there. I call her Boogie with her nosy self. And I'm gonna go have me a drink.
Hilarious.
Michael, if you got a question, you better ask him now about triple threat or whatever you need to ask.
If I could ask you a question that ain't got nothing to do with this.
Uh-oh.
Go ahead.
Under the Cherry Moon. Will we ever see a color version of that movie?
I'm gonna tell you. First of all, I'm gonna correct you.
Uh-oh.
It has everything to do with this.
Okay.
I've been looking for Under the Cherry Moon color version, and it seems like I'm getting close at times, and then it just falls off. There's one out there because, as Jill knows, we seen it.
Oh, really? Really?
Somewhere, somehow, someday, it'll pop up.
Well, we're going to keep hope alive on that, man. I would love to see. I know everybody is not on board with that, but I think it would be dope. He said,
I want the ending where Christopher lives.
Ah, yes. Right. Interesting. Well, man,
You guys look good in there.
Thank you, sir. We love you. Thank you.
Wish I could have been there, but I have obligations.
Next time. Next time. You here now. Yeah, you are here now.
That's right now.
You are here now. Man, we so much appreciate your work over the years. I'm going to be on, I'm just going to toot my own horn. I'm going to be on you to get you on the podcast so we can really sit down and chop that up. But thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all. And y'all got to catch me in my gray. This is my Ghana look.
Still cool.
Wait until y'all see me in one of those tight suits. All right.
Nice, nice. Ladies and gentlemen, Jerome Benton.
Jill. All you people in that audience, I love y'all.
All right, man. We love you. Salute. Salute. Oh, wow. Wow. See, D'Angela?
Thank you, Tonya.
Tonya?
Thank you, Tonya.
Thank you, Tonya. Thank you, Jill. How much time do we have left?
I don't even know what time it is.
Oh, okay. Well, with that
What
said-
time is it?
Oh, it's
What
6 o'clock.
time is it?
5:50. Oh, yeah. So we're ending at 6:15, but I do want to make some closing remarks, but I won't keep you here long. I won't be like the pastor. All right?
Well, are there any questions for the panel?
There actually is a really great question on the menti.com, but let me pull it up. Hold on.
Can I
While
just
she
want to
pu-
say? Can I just say one thing?
Absolutely.
There was a Star Wars reference a little bit earlier, and I was thinking of. I'd already had this in mind. 1999 to me kind of felt like Prince had gone to Dagobah and came back, and he was a fully formed Jedi and created 1999. It was like he became Prince at this point, for me. And Purple Rain was kind of the cherry on top of the 1999 cake. He was building up to that, but like it's all been said before, Purple Rain wouldn't exist without this. This, like, the storyline even came from the tour of, you know.
Right.
So.
All right.
I just want to say on the Super Deluxe set, I want to give a shout out to whoever it was at the estate that decided to put that silver metallic foil on
Yes.
it, right?
Yes.
Okay, hold on. Now
it
I
shines
actually-
and glows like a ethereal object.
But I actually, I actually have that's one of my nitpicks. Like, I wish they would have made it purple foil, because
Ooh,
the
like
myth
a
is
jacket.
the sky is all purple. That's, you know.
I
That's
want
the
to say,
artist.
I just want to say one quick thing about the Super Deluxe editions that I think is really important to Prince's overall legacy, and that's the fact that they brought people in to do the liner notes and to talk about the projects that he's done who are African American, and to continue to center Prince as an African American artist.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I think Jimi Hendrix is the example of what happens when you decenter an artist from the community that he came from, that he supported, that he was really always about. Because in my growing up, I just thought Jimi Hendrix was kind of, obviously a guitar god and all of that, but very much so like disconnected from the black community. And when you actually go through his history and you go down the Jimi Hendrix rabbit hole, you find out that that wasn't the case. I didn't know until recently that Band of Gypsies was the project that he wanted to work on and continue to do, that he did not want to continue as part of the experience. And just knowing that years later is crazy to me. And that's obviously because of some of the things that I guess happened with his estate. So one of the things that they have done is really, Prince was someone who cared about his community throughout his whole career. A lot of newer people may not remember Marva Collins and the school that she founded in Chicago. Unfortunately, Marva is gone as well, but he did a benefit for that school. He did all kinds of charitable things throughout his career, and one of the critical things for me as a media person who worked for a long time and still does work in the African American media is that he probably, as an artist of his stature, was one of the only that consistently did black press throughout his career. He did the Soul Train Music Awards. He did Essence. He was on the cover of Essence. He was on the cover of Ebony. I'm sure he was on the cover of Jet probably more than a couple of times. He did Black Radio. He did, Cynthia Horner, which I would love for you to have Cynthia Horner come.
She's been, you mean come back? Because she participated in Dirty Mind 40, Graffiti Bridge 30.
Right.
She was on the panel with
Say that,
Arthur.
D'Angelo.
So, yeah.
So she talks about how Prince sought her out because Right On was then the teen Bible, the black teen Bible, I should say. Like Tiger Beat was kind of the white, and then Right On was the one. So I just feel like that was so significant because even now you don't see artists who are of a certain stature who are African American that support the African American media in that way. That still goes on years later. And the African America is still viable. Amsterdam News right here in New York City that's been around for a zillion years. The Chicago Defender, the Philadelphia Tribune, other places that are specifically African American, the Griot, I've worked for everybody. I work for BET, I work for the Griot. I now work with Cashless Life, that's part of Radio Digital One. I worked with Black America Web and the Tom Joyner Morning Show for many, many years. I know because I went through the investigation documents that Black America Web was actually one of the last sites that Prince looked at. It's in his browsing history. So I was like, please, I hope he saw my story. Why did he call me? But anyway. But in any case, that's a very, very significant part of his career. And them doing this in the box sets to make sure that people understand and know that this was a very, very much a part of his spirit and his music and his life is one of the most important things that I think has been done on these box sets.
So I actually have a couple of questions from the audience in terms of the Mentee, and one is really quick for Tonya, and then there's one that I want everybody to answer. Tanya's question is, do you still have all the vinyl records and posters from your dorm room wall in your collection today? And you better not say no.
Okay, so I do not have the Prince poster anymore. And that is really sad because I had that framed, as you can see there, and it got broken in a move. So I'm still, I think they sell it on eBay. I'm still trying to replenish that. And, you know, you have to remember, D'Angelo, I was young. I know.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
So Jesse and all those records on the wall. I have a Purple Purple Rain, an original one. I actually have an autographed Prince something. This goes to show you how sad it is that I was so young, because on the 1999 tour, they gave me, we met some roadies and ended up at, well, no, that was Purple Rain. I can't remember because I conflated the tours, but I got a drumsticks, Sheila E.'s drumsticks. Somebody gave them to us, and a purple tambourine that said "Love God," and I broke that. I know, but I do still have the vinyl. I have the Purple Purple Rain album. I have some other colored vinyl, probably the ones that you still see there. And my father was a limousine driver for many years, and he drove Prince, and he knew how I felt about Prince. And he got me an autographed vinyl of like a test pressing or something like that that was in the back of my closet for years and years. So it's faded, but I still have it. But I do really miss the Prince poster because, as you can see, that was like throughout my whole college life. But you know, I got other stuff now too, and you know, so yeah, some of it I do have. I do still have.
Awesome. So this may be our this might be our final question actually, unless Michael Dean has something additional you'd like to ask with the quickness. And this kind of came up in the last panel. Is a variation of that, and this is from the chat. And it says, where would you rank the Super Deluxe in comparison to the others? And I don't really count Purple Rain Deluxe. I mean, but I guess we can count it. So where would you rank the Super Deluxe in comparison to the others? For me, it's just 1999 and Sign of the Times, really. But I'm curious if the Purple Rain, because I have heard from one of my dear Prince friends says, you know, we're pining for these deluxe box sets, and most of us haven't listened to the albums that Prince did release, you know, in their totality multiple times. So someone actually might prefer the Purple Rain Deluxe because it's not as voluminous as, you know, both Sign of the Times and 1999. So I'm curious if all five of you actually wouldn't mind answering that.
Sure, I'll start. I actually think the 1999 one is the more superior. And someone said yesterday, can you have too many tracks? Yeah. you maybe can, because the Sign of the Times one is almost overwhelming, the volume of material. So, Sign of the Times I love, but 1999 is my go-to era. So
Can you say a little bit more? Because I'm actually in the opposite. I want every single track, every single version. One of my favorite box set is by Sarah Vaughan. And what was incredible about Sarah Vaughan as a vocalist is that, one, she smoked, and you would never know it because she had the clearest voice ever. But this particular session, and it's a blue cover, and I can't remember the song, and it's about maybe eight takes of each song, and she sung it differently every single time, and it was incredible. And the only other person I've seen do something like that is I saw Abby Lincoln 2 sets back to back at the Blue Note, and she played an entirely different set the second. She did not repeat one song when she did 2 backs, but that Sarah Vaughan box set, if you know the one I'm talking about, is a blue cover. She is smoking cigarettes, she's sick, she's coughing, but as soon as she starts singing, it is like clear as day. It is incredible. So like for me, I know that Prince can really flip things. So like I want to hear every single version. I don't want the edits. Forget the edits.
There you go.
I want the 18-minute version. Give me the 45-minute jam. Give me that's what I want. So when I hear someone say, and I respect you, Troy, I
knew I was going to get
Yes. I honestly want to know, why is the Sign of the Times box set, too voluminous? Because, for me, I wanted them to remove the edits so we could have even more songs.
Well, that's the thing. That's
yeah.
what I mean. It's those edits
Yeah.
that take up so much space. It's like
Yeah.
you almost feel obligated, But,
It's
I
okay.
don't have a good answer for that.
It's okay. I was just curious. So
I'm not a completist like you are, let's
yes,
say.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
For me, Sign of the Times, I think, is probably the greatest album ever made. But I think the 1999 deluxe set is better. And I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out why this is. And I think, for me, it's because what I personally want, and I think if a lot of music fans want from a super deluxe, is to see all these jigsaw pieces and see the ones that almost fit but didn't quite, and maybe one little bit of the jigsaw is fitting into another bit but not with another bit, and you see why some stuff was left off, and you see the progress of kind of after the album came out with your kind of extended mixes or whatever else. Now the thing with Sign of the Times Super Deluxe is Sign of the Times might be the only album in history that's basically a greatest hits of his own recent albums, right? Because it's the best of Camille, it's the best of Crystal Ball, it's the best of Dream Factory. And you put that all together, you get a great 2 CD set, but you put all the other stuff together, you get a bunch of stuff that has no connection with a lot of the other stuff, and it's not telling a story because it's so many stories all put together, right? And it's hard, it's an impossible job to curate that. I don't even know how they approach doing it, but there's really, I don't think there is a way to do that and tell a consistent story because of the context of all those different projects coming together. So that's why. Whereas 1999, you can see it. You see the progression, you see the story, you see the consistency. It feels complete to me, apart from the obvious non-additions that we mentioned before.
I mean, I was good when they put out the hits because Prince did his own liner notes for that. So I like Sign of the Times because I just think it's a beautiful package. They did so many different things really well in Sign of the Times. But when I look to other artists, someone mentioned maybe here that there's a 17 box set for Bob Dylan. Mm-hmm. And I was like, if you're going to tell me you can come up with 17 damn box set for Bob Dylan, so we're going to get a 70 box set for Prince because, but there are projects like that. Even I was in the bookstore, which is down the street from here, which is amazing bookstore in City Point. Amazing because it has a lot of selections of Black and queer and all these different kinds of diverse books, which is not the norm in most bookstores. But anyway, they had the big Rihanna book, right? And that book is first of all, I picked it up and almost hurt myself because it's heavy. And there's all these, beautiful photographs of her and all of that. And I feel like when we look at these creative projects, whether it's that book or whether it's the 17 CDs or 17, whatever it is, Eugene Ormandy, who is with the Philadelphia Orchestra for many, many years, a very significant composer. Sony Legacy, I believe, put out something like a 60 CD set. And you're thinking to yourself, who in the hell is buying a 60 CD set on Eugene Ormandy? But if you're a classical music fan, you're doing that. And then there's the Paul McCartney, Paul big box set. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? There's a big Paul McCartney box set that's out right now. And they go through all of the songs. And then there's the book, all of the songs that me and DJ if you guys know DJ was ready to fight us all. He was like, this is not worthy of Prince and blah, 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 blah. I was like, but Michael Jackson has one, so Prince got to have one. And there are actually really, really amazing photos in all the songs. So I'm saying all this to say there are special projects because Prince was so prolific that the creativity is limitless on what you can do with Prince and his music. I would love to see an all live recordings box set. Could we see an all TV performances box set? Where is the 400 hours of footage that Prince hid in the walls at Paisley Park? When will we ever see that?
Somebody asked me recently, they were like, can you send me like 20 tracks of Prince just playing blues? And I was like, that should be a thing, right?
Absolutely.
Exactly. I mean, listen, I guess I don't know if I can say the site, but there's a site that it's known for DJs where you can find tons of Prince stuff you've never heard. How many people have heard the song Fuchsia Light in here? Are we? Because this is, I was like, wait a second. Wait, what? This is an amazing song. Why do I not know this song? And I've been down with Prince since, 1978. Like, come on. There's so much with him. And that's why curating it, I think they've done a great job so far with the box sets. But that was what Comerica did, and they had their day, and now we're moved on. We, again, should be able to come together as a community and come up. First of all, the projects that people do independently, but the work effort is worthy of Prince. It's worthy of him because I just cannot imagine the amount of time and hours spent to put all that audio together and then edit it and then make it go together cohesively. Troy, what you're doing, it's worthy.
Yes.
It's worthy of Prince.
Yes.
This was a guy who was so creative and prolific, and there are people doing projects that are worthy of him. What D'Angela's doing, once again, I try to imagine if Prince was still with us in the physical realm, would he be coming on like Jerome right now and saying, y'all were right about that, but y'all ain't right about that. But I know that he would just be so honored and humbled by the fact that you have taken this time and made this considerable effort for you to keep his legacy alive, to bring us here in a beautiful space and get the kind of cooperations and go through the red tape and whatever you've had to go through to make this happen. So once again, thank you for allowing me to be a part of it personally and all of us.
Yes, amen.
Yes.
I'll make mine really quick, and then we want to do something real quick. So I'm going to here's my choice. So, sign of times. All right. So, as they say on the Drink Champs, and we say it here, we want to give you your flowers now, D'Angelo. So, ladies got some flowers for you. Thank you so much for putting this together and putting in the work. Thank you to you and your husband, because I know he's got to help as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
D'Angelo.
Don't stand up. I don't want you to stand up for me. I want you to stand up. Oh. I don't want you to stand up for me. I want you to stand up for Jill. All right. Okay, I'm going to try to make this wrap up with the quickness. I really appreciate everyone who came out. And I want to make some thanks, and I'm going to try to be really quick. And I'm being very quick just because I know time is our most precious resource. At this very moment, you could have chosen to be anywhere, but you have chosen to celebrate Prince. And Jill Jones, and Jerome Benton, and Morris Day, and Jesse Johnson, and Jellybean Johnson, and Monte Moore. And I'm sure I missed somebody, but also Brenda, also Susan, also Vanity, also Lisa and Wendy, Lisa and Wendy, and Bobby Z, and Brown Mark, and Dr. Fink, and Jill Jones. This is the reason why we are here. So we want to thank them for all that they've given us. Now, we were supposed to keep this in Vegas, but Michael Dean always tells me what to do, and I always follow what Michael Dean tells me what to do. And Michael Dean says we need to give it up for Chris M.F. Rob.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Woo.
Yes. 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 And I know that Miles Marshall Lewis isn't watching right now, but if somebody can tweet to Miles Marshall Lewis that Chris Robb played the entire version of I Don't Want to Leave You, I Don't Want to Go, and it was incredible. Incredible. And we got to give a shout out to Tammy Sharp and Chanisha Scott. Because they both did double duty, and they were like trying to do two things at the same time, and poor Chanisha was technically supposed to be doing something else. So I was like, oh my God, like the commitment, you guys don't understand the commitment that people have for Prince and showing up and doing things when they should be doing something else, but we show up for Prince. And in terms of our Vegas venture, I want to shout out the lighting crew, which was Zoe and Alexandra, and Oscar and Alex. And I have to shout out Krista. I love you. Yes. And I have to give a very, very special thanks to Sam Jackson. Sam is amazing. I know you're probably downstairs watching the live stream, but thank you, Sam Jackson. And I couldn't have done it without Tracy Figueroa. And thank you for the clap for Tracy. Trust me, we would not be here if it wasn't for those three women. That's okay. I can use my teacher's voice. I want to thank Adam. Thank you so much for the audio. Thank you, thank you. Can we switch the mic maybe, you think? We're going to try to switch that mic. And then I want to shout out Thomas on the live stream. And I also want to shout out Andre, who is with us other days from Transcendent Enterprises, which is a company by Chris Alvarez, who is a Tandon alum. And we have to give thanks to Tandon to NYU for allowing us to have this space. There's a lot of people that I want to thank, but I am going to try to be very, very short. So I want to give a special shout out to Samantha Skinner, who was indispensable, Janelle Green, Dee Jandai Simmons, Jason King, Joe Holt, all the student workers who checked you in down in the lobbies, NYU Tandon's media team, because there's separate media teams in this space versus Pfizer, where we were on Friday, and that was Will Figueroa and Lauren Ip. And then I have to give special shout outs to Edgar Krauser, Harold Pride, Zaire Ali, Camila Cummings, Arthur Turnbull, C. Lee McGinnis, and I have to give a very, 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 very special thanks to someone who is just as crazy as me about Prince, and that is Michael Dean. Michael Dean, yes. Thank you for making a serious commitment to what did Prince do this week.
For 4 more years.
I'm trying to butter him up, see how long he's going to stay with me. And then to all the speakers, I can't say every single one of you, but you know who you are, and you know I love you, and you always show up for us. You bring the presentations, you bring the dialogue in terms of the roundtable discussions. You know, some people say, I heard someone say, oh, you invite the same people back, but it's because they have something to say. And also, we're talking about different Prince albums, so there are different things to talk about. And I do try to bring in new people, and I have Troy, has never spoken at one before. And we had many others, like Dr. Maury was with us and all that. Yes, yes. And there are other people that I'm missing, but I apologize because my blood sugar is really low, and I'm trying to get you guys out here because I know yours is too. I want to thank you who are in this room right now for being here to the very end. Thank you. And you know who else is in this room? Jill Jones. It's all about Jill. Not many people would do what Jill has done for us this weekend. They wouldn't. Yeah, that's real. And then, obviously, last but definitely not least, we're going to keep that to the end because I need to give a shout out to our wonderful sponsors, NYU Tandon, NYU Integrated Design and Media, NYU Office of Global Inclusion, Diversity, and Strategic Innovation, also known as OGI, NYU Institute of African American Affairs and the Center for Black Visual Culture, NYU Photography and Imaging, NYU Clive Davis Institute of Recorded Music, NYU Liberal Studies, Joe Hope, founder of Bandcamp, and to Reverend for the amazing Symposium graphics. And I told you guys to go look at that poster. Did you guys look? Yeah. Do you know, what are we looking at? The silhouette of Prince. Prince is in the poster if you look close enough around, yes. So if you don't see it, come and stare a little bit and you will see it. So Prince is here with us. All right, because, oh, and I have to say the state of Prince Rogers Nelson is not affiliated, associated, or connected with the Prince TripleThreat40 Symposium, nor has it endorsed or sponsored the Prince TripleThreat40 Symposium, blah, blah, blah. And this would be my final 2 sentences. This is your pilot speaking. Thank you for flying Prince International. The next time you fly, fly international. Thank you.